Directly behind our self righteous facade is a wounded child in need of loving attention, labor, and the expression of worth. If you think self righteousness is only for religious folks, think again. Coming to terms with, repenting of our own self righteousness is paramount in self realization, the realizing of the authentic in one's own being. What we come to understand is that any form that we excel at, any form that makes us feel good about ourselves, any ego or personality boosting form that we participate in, will reveal to us our own self righteousness. For instance, a very simple example. Let's say that you have a messy house for years, and in a moment of inspiration, you discover the joy of cleaning, and you take some kind of control of your life by cleaning your house. And this, just imagine that this clean house, it becomes your religion. It's the way that you feel good about yourself, it's what you have control over. And now imagine that you go over to someone else's home that is dirty, obvious to you. It's obvious to you that you can't be happy in a house that's this dirty. And so what do you want to do immediately? You want to share your experience of clean house. And you're going to want to try to teach this person possibly how to clean their house. And you're going to want to tell them how important it was that I learned to clean my house. And you're going to want to share with them this good news of how much strength and joy one might experience in a clean house. Do you see? this can this template can be picked up and moved on to any form. Let's say you become very educated and you start to value a certain type of intellect. We become self-righteous about these things. There's a deep self-righteousness in academia, just as there is a deep self-righteousness in church. There is a deep self-righteousness in scientific communities. We're othering one another. We think that our practice is the practice. And this is just something we have to get over if we want to move past ourselves. So, what are you saying, Trav? Are you telling us that we shouldn't clean our house, that we shouldn't educate ourselves? No, that's not what I'm saying. My son has this particular kind of intelligence. His type of intelligence is the type of intelligence that, with the with the hard work and discipline behind it, can earn him an engineering degree. I have great respect for those engineers' minds. Uh, Growing up, he had two sisters, and when his sisters would be sharing ideas and talking about something, oftentimes my son would say to his sisters, he would say, "Actually, it's like this." So there was a wisdom that came upon me. Thank God I have this memory. It's one of those memories that, shows that I was present in some fashion as my children were coming up. Thank God, thank God, thank God for every little helpful encouragement, right? What I was able to say to my son is, "Son, you are free to share all information that you have, especially as you share it in the same joy and curiosity with which you discovered it. Share your joy, share your love of discovery, share your love of knowledge, your love of wisdom." So, the only problem is when we decide that my clean house or my education or the particular stories that I'm telling myself, the religious stories, the sacred texts, when we decide that those are, if you cannot believe my story, that we have irreconcilable differences. It might help to approach life more like a writer, becoming curious about people's stories, practicing, not being threatened. Or when we do feel threatened by someone else's stories, then we make deep inquiries about that. We may even learn how to ask questions of people who have stories that threaten our stories. Wouldn't that be amazing? Those are high level social skills that most of us, honestly, were just not taught. Those of us who were born into really difficult situations, for instance, if you were told that shame was love when you were little, love is shame, whoo, you're going to have a big mind fuck to undo. And those types of situations, you're going to feel so broken and so hurt, so fatherless, so motherless, so incredibly hurt that you're going to start gathering up any form that makes you feel good about yourself. And oftentimes, what we're going to do as we start excelling in these forms is we're going to start judging others. I knew this very strongly in my practice as a musician. As a young person and as an adult, I was invited into music communities because I had value, and therefore I started valuing myself as a musician, right? And I started judging others by whether or not they were measuring up to my standards. And then I went through basically a lifetime of this, just gathering form after form after form, hoping that that form would be my source of salvation. That started consciously for me with religion, fundamentalist Bible Belt religion, where I was very clearly told that this is the sacred text, this is the only way to heaven. And so self-righteousness is quite intoxicating. It can be very, very powerful. And this is why we see so many different groups and telling so many different stories and so many people yelling and screaming at each other with no real understanding of how these stories are working in us, how they're serving us. So you can see that there are these wounded children right behind these self-righteous facades that we create. Now, this is very important. All of this is not to say that we should not excel or that we should not expand our consciousness, because there is depth, and we do have to learn to value depth, and we do have to learn to discern spirits. And in fact, we must learn to discern truth for ourselves. It must rise up from within us. Religion is a particularly good form in which we can come to terms with this self-righteousness. We'll begin to see it in ourselves if we allow ourselves. That's not to say that we've taken a wrong turn. It's part of the process. This is what sacred text is for, is to show us ourselves. We may come to understand that there is no religion, there is no practice that suffices. That's not to say that we cannot have communion with the source in our personal practice. Yes to the personal practices, and yes to the full exhaustion of self in whatever form we are pursuing. Therefore, if you have a practice that is supporting you today, I want to encourage you in that. I want to encourage you to take that to its absolute limit, to exhaust yourself in that practice, to align all of your effort, in fact, with the turning toward that depth, with the turning toward that understanding that you have that this is the answer. Because we do find the answer. And we can find the answer in every form. And then we are to release every form that we practice and oftentimes find the answer in another form, or allow our favorite form to die, and then eventually it will be reborn with kind of a deeper holding around it, or now there's more room to expand into the depths in that practice. So we can just become aware of our death and rebirth cycles as we approach whatever form, be it religious form, whatever kind of form, clean houses, science, academia, whatever we want to look at. Labor and the expression of worth. Together, we are discovering our common work, our common stories, and our common love. Strengthening a tribe member deepens a tribe. It deepens every tribe that we are connected to. I strengthen you, you strengthen me. And it is through these connections, these depth tribe connections, that we feed the world together, discovering our depths. One last thing before I end today. It's really important for these days. It's important to understand that we can get behind a righteous cause with self-righteousness. Our righteous indignation can quickly become self-righteousness. And once we've done that, we've allied ourselves behind what we know to be a good cause with a spirit that can do no good. What do I mean by that? A spirit that can do no good. I mean, there's no love there. Self-righteousness is not about love. Self-righteousness is about division. So you can get behind a good cause with self-righteousness and still be without love. And that can be heartbreaking. And it is heartbreaking over and over and over again every time we do it.